together. They ask why. Every hidden corner, every alibi. They risk it all, they take the fall. For the truth that will stand tall.
Hello, everyone. Thank you so much for joining me today. Let me, if you're watching from, I can give you a shout out. And today's video, I'm going to be showing some survivor interviews that I got from the Shaun Attwood channel, and he has many. I'm going to just feature 3 of them, but the full-length interview could be found on his channel, and I'll link it in the description. And then I was really excited. Shane found this comment on my last video from Shaun Attwood Official saying great video. So I was really surprised that he saw my video. I was working on this video anyways. It wasn't this that made me, create this video, but anyways, I wanted to show that. Okay, we'll wait a little bit for people to stop in. So yeah, I'll be sharing accounts from a few SRA MK Ultra survivors, and they do contain disturbing descriptions of abuse. So I just wanted to give you guys a warning. I didn't put the really, there's some bad stuff, but if you watch the full-length one, there's even more disturbing reports and descriptions in those. Okay, someone's watching from Honolulu, from Liverpool, England. All right, it's okay. You know what? Let me get started. And then as they come through, I'll come back to them. Oh wait, a bunch came through. Okay. Waco, Texas, Mountain of San Diego, Elko, Nevada, and Carl there. Shane, did you know Carl's in Mississippi?
I was not aware of that.
I think, which I didn't. I thought he was in Maui all this time. Okay, from the UK, Great Britain, Bacon Creek, Kentucky, Oregon, Massachusetts, Pacific Northwest, Washington, New Jersey, Florida, oh, you wish you were from Maui. This whole time I thought you were in Maui. Okay, I'm going to get started, and then I'll get to the comments and questions after I do some of the presentation. It's not a long one. It's mainly clips, but I've been looking into a lot of the more recent reports of survivors. I feel like there's been like an outpouring of whistleblowers, and it's because now we know that these things aren't false reports. I think if I'd heard some of these accounts just even a few years ago, I wouldn't have believed it. I would have just assumed these people were like crazy. Now that we understand that there are so many people that have the same that the same things happen to them, I have to assume that there is a network, there is a system, and this is widespread. It's not a one-off thing. These incidences happen at different social economic levels. And I've been watching some old reports from like David Icke, and there's one on the Oprah show where they come on and they describe exactly what SRA is and what their family was like and the deities that they worshipped. But I really would not have believed it at the time. So let me start out with, I'll come back to the comments in a little bit, okay, Shane? Oh, and the reports do contain these two topics, which I thought were interesting. So two of them do say that they were like victims of this, or they experienced this as a way to silence them. So I'll be showing those shortly. And we'll be talking about some of the deities like Baphomet and Satan. But I also want to remind everyone that we're not just dealing with evil entities. There are angelic forces at play here. So I don't want people to lose sight of that, because I know it's easy to get kind of trapped in the darkness. So this is Lynne Scott Haggerman on the Shaun Attwood Show. And she's going to just briefly describe one of the things that she witnessed.
And they would be put in there alive because of what they do. That's just how they did it. They were cannibals also, and the sacrifices of the little ones. There would be, and I wanted to share a bit of the supernatural while I was there. There were angels there too all the time. And so I would see angels with all the children while I was there. But in the kitchen, in the living room, there would be the PDFs would gather there, and there would be plays and videos created for them. And I could see each PDF actually had a demon. I saw angels and demons all the time when I was little, still do to this day. I live a very supernatural lifestyle from when I survived. But each PDF had a demon, and they would either be stuck to their side or in them and coming out, or a mix, or standing right beside them. And they were just as real as the people.
Okay, so in a previous video, I went over a report that came out in the Epstein files, and it describes some extremely depraved practices. And it's so disgusting. I couldn't understand why a human would want to, for example, consume organs of human organs and things like that. And I'm not talking about the organs that normally are eaten. And I was thinking these people must be possessed. There must be some sort of demonic entity involved, because it's so depraved that it's just really unexplainable. But she does talk a lot about, as a child, seeing these deities as well as seeing angels. And then here she's going to mention another deity that she saw.
And that's also, too, where I saw Baphomet. I would see Baphomet. That's the demon that you see that's has the goat head and the goat for the top half of his body, and the male is the bottom half. And he was always in this material gathering room. There was also one at the underground lab, and he was there too. It's the only place I saw him. And, the pictures you see today will show him with mixed genitalia, and those aren't correct. And unfortunately, I would know exactly what that was whenever I was a little girl. But yes, that's him. Scary, scary, scary thing. And see, that shows him like with breasts, but he doesn't. I mean, somewhere along the way, I think that was just to make him look creepier or something. But he did not have that. But that's exactly how he looked. And I did not see wings either. I see wings a lot on the pictures now. I think that's to make him look more scary. And he was scary, don't get me wrong. He was very kind of large and in charge when I was little. But that's exactly who was there.
And Baphomet comes up a lot. I heard an account that Rock Nation has a statue of Baphomet in one of their offices, and that Diddy has a Baphomet. You know, people have seen that entity in, you know, in one of his places, I think in his yacht or something. So yeah, these entities certainly are worshipped, and this goes back thousands of years to the Canaanites. And I've done content going back to the ancient civilizations that practiced these depraved things and honored these types of entities. Okay, and then she's going to describe here seeing another demonic entity.
So both. Each evil person had their demon. Some was standing beside them. Some was inside them where they were possessed. They could control what they did. They chose to listen to demons and do their bidding. And, you know, I remember, so if they're humans, some of them don't have souls. I remember one time being taken to a circus. And I believe it was in Paris, actually. And it was a circus where there were only horses that were performers. And whenever I was there, I saw Satan himself. And the people in the circus in the audience, they were watching these horrific performances that the children had to do with the horses. And Satan was there, and he had a box with souls in it. So some of them have, you know, literally, truly given their souls to do this, which is why it's very difficult for everyday people to comprehend the level of evil. But there was a lot of demon possession.
Okay, and it's interesting she said Paris. I feel like a lot of reports, a lot of accounts come out of France. I don't know if that is due to the French Revolution and how the Canaanite culture, the Phoenician culture, or the Black nobility were very instrumental in throwing over the aristocrats in France during the Revolution. Just a little connection I made. I'm not sure if it's just, we just happened to hear about France, but it's something I've noticed. And the activity she was alluding to, that's also described in the biblical text as a practice of the Canaanites. And they also not just abused, but they did sacrifice their children to these deities. I think Moloch is the entity of the child sacrifice. Okay, and then she's going to describe a situation. I was really surprised to hear this because I had not heard of a person describe weather being used for a very specific, she's going to describe an interview, and I'll play it right here.
Yes, yes. Yeah, I've had whistleblowers. I had a whistleblower on my show who was with the FBI, and he was fired for this. But he was a good man, and he found millions of these files and videos of very high up people in the United States, not Epstein. Epstein's one man of many people. So let's not think that this all stops and ends when, you know, we have some justice there. There's a lot of this. So he found quite a few of these. And whenever and millions of files, higher ups, no one in the United States would take the case. None of the justice departments they wouldn't touch it because of the level of the people that were involved. And as a matter of fact, as a side note, the night I had him on my show, I was sitting right here, and I prayed before the show starts because I believe in the power of prayer. And 5 minutes into the show, tornado sirens start going off. And where I live, that means you seek shelter. That means there's a tornado touch the ground close to you and you seek shelter. And I heard Holy Spirit talk, and he said, Lynn, he said, if you go seek shelter, you are in the greatest danger. He said, you stay here, you keep this show going, do not stop, because if you seek shelter, that's when you're in danger. So I had, there's a storm outside this window, sirens for a solid hour, but this FBI whistleblower I'm telling you about, I kept that show going. When that show was over, Shaun, tornadoes had touched down a mile or two to the north of me, south, east, and west. That's impossible. Tornadoes do not touch down north, south, east, and west. But that was an attack, a weather warfare, because of that whistleblower story. And within a mile or two of my house, there was no damage, and the rest of the town was torn up.
So yeah, I've never heard of someone claim that the weather was used for this reason. I mean, I was talking to Shane about it, and I'm sure she did experience this. I just feel like there would have been a much easier way to prevent that interview. I feel like they could have, cut her connection. They could have cut her power off. Done something like electronically to silence her, or, do something to the person that was being interviewed. But, she does claim that that weather was because of what she was doing, the interview she was doing. Okay, Shane, I'll get to some of the comments because I didn't address many in the beginning. Okay, Maricopa County from Makaha, Oahu. Oh, Kailua High, 73. I'm from Kaneohe. Vernon Hassenkamp, Scappoose, Oregon. That's a really long name. Cornwall, UK. Okay, are we good for now? Madison, Connecticut. Okay, those of us who believe in deliverance in the name of Jesus didn't know it was going on. I think you're talking about the abuse. Yeah, it's taken me time to get to this point. And if it weren't for my, awakening process that happened starting in 2023, I don't know if I could handle this information. I would probably just kind of block it out and just pretend like I'm not hearing it, because it's so horrible. And the fact that it involves children and that it is so widespread, and the people in charge of these things are in charge of our society, the military, politicians, big business, very wealthy people with a lot of influence. I would have, years ago, I would have had a hard time believing it. But, my evolution has gotten me to this point where, I really don't count anyone's testimony out. I do consider everything. I know maybe not everything is completely factual, but I do believe that these survivors are giving their accounts as far as they remember. We need whistleblowers, otherwise it would be hard to believe. Yeah, I think before there were just so few people coming out, and so it was easy to discount them. But the number of people that have come out is overwhelming, and it's just hard. You really can't ignore it anymore. Okay, now say Corona. This is Corona, California. Okay, I'll get back to the presentation. I have one more of Lynne, and here she's talking about why she thinks these people do what they do.
I think the number one reason is money, above and beyond anything else. I think it's purely money. We're seeing that too with the Epstein files, money and then power. That's what all that's about. Plus Baal worship. They're Satan, Luciferian Satanists. So they worship Satan, and he demands sacrifices and harm to the children. That's part of Baal worship. They absolutely enjoy this. They are not like us. So it is very gratifying to them. I'm not sure if they would call it fun, but it's money, power, in who they worship.
Yeah, and I think that is the source of all evil, most evil. And yeah, it's been hard to this really does turn things upside down, just understanding how prevalent this type of evil is. And yeah, it's just been hard for me to, I don't know, like, looking at things that I maybe heard of in the past that I discounted. I feel like I have to revisit these other things that I didn't believe before and give them like a fresh pair of eyes. And one thing that that did come up in the Epstein files, and it's really unfortunate, but it's come up in a number of emails, is the hunting. And I had heard this years ago that there were hunts going on, and I'm not talking about for deer. And it's coming up so often in the files. And actually, Lynne describes an experience that she's had being a victim of that. And so we're talking like Hunger Games type of behavior, even worse, because a lot of them don't survive. And a lot of names such as ex-presidents, ex-vice presidents have been associated with this type of behavior. Okay, I'll introduce, this is Max Lowen, and she has a couple of interviews up as well. And she talks a lot about the MK Ultra program and the origins of it, how it came over and how it was developed here in the United States.
There were abilities that I had that were enhanced. They train children through trauma. It's called trauma-based mind control. Had perfected this into a science. Then if you look up Project Paperclip, those scientists at the end of the war were brought to America. That's when the CIA began with their MK Ultra program, which was discovered and is out there as a fact, except they lie and say it was just the use of LSD and isolation, but they're omitting the things I just mentioned, which are part of it. And the point of it is that if you torture someone, you fragment the psyche, and then they take those fragments and they program in alters. So they program into people certain abilities, like this is how they make spies, super soldiers, honeypots, being able to do telekinesis, astral travel. They program psychic abilities into children so that then they can be used to do a lot of different functions. So there's certain triggers that will bring in an alter to do a task, but then the person doesn't remember it because their front alter, it's all very dissociated. So this is, of course, done deliberately.
Okay, and she was referring to this group of people as the ones that came over after the war to help the American intelligence perfect this ability to fragment a person's psyche and then giving them dissociative personality disorder and then programming those different personalities so they could weaponize it, which is ideal if you're trying to train a spy, an assassin, because if you can compartmentalize the different characters or personalities, if the person is captured and they're not in that identity, they really can't remember some of the things they did. I think that is the point. Okay, and then she's going to touch a little on the secret societies that are involved with these types of activities.
The Jesuits have worked closely with Mengele. So the Jesuits are mind control experts. The Vatican is kind of, as you were telling me earlier, the Vatican is its own city-state, and that's correct. They're the mind control arm of the global cult.
Okay.
So the Jesuits are one of the most evil people on earth, by the way. And they actually have facilities where they breed children to raise them in these facilities to do these. So in the Stranger Things show, the character 11 was a good example of a child that was bred.
So again, she's mentioning entertainment used as a way to kind of roll this out to the public. And I've heard a lot of people that, like whistleblowers that know what's going on, they have said the show Stranger Things is actually very accurate and is not made up. And they believe that information came from people that worked on the MK Ultra type of programs. And then, I hear Dr. Mengele brought up a lot of survivors that are like in their 60s and 70s now. And so there were children back in the 40s and 50s. A lot of them said that he was Dr. Green. That was what they called him. And I remember seeing, there's got to be a bunch of documentaries about Dr. Mengele, about how evil he was and how he was the doctor of death. He had a name. And then how he snuck out of Germany to Argentina and then did some of his experiments on the population there. And that there's this group, this village in Argentina where a lot of twins are, and that he somehow disappeared and that it was never seen again. So the propaganda involved with covering up like Operation Paperclip, I think is very strong. But I think it was Annie Jacobson is the journalist who broke the story on Operation Paperclip. And there's a lot of documentation of the doctors that did come over, scientists. And I believe the number quoted is up to 1,600 of them were brought over to the US. A lot of them went to Russia and some deflected to like Azerbaijan. But the US did get a lot of these doctors and scientists. And I guess Nuremberg was more of a show to make it seem like they were all prosecuted, when in fact they came over to the US and were put in charge of major corporations and major government organizations. Okay, I'll address some comments here so I don't get too backed up. Leave some trace evidence. Oh yeah, please hit the like button. I need all the help I can get to get this video out. Okay, we hear that the fragmented can't be delivered without encountering the individual segments. I'm beginning to think that we have to trust our Lord. He wasn't shook when he met the demonized men. Yeah, so something I want to kind of delve into more. I just have to learn more about it. I do want to discover more about the angelic intelligence, because we're not just dealing with the dark. I believe there are ways emotionally, psychologically, and spiritually to protect ourselves from some of these dark forces. And there's very little information about it. I'm, here and there, I learn about how they exist and how they work. Something that I've heard from a number of sources, and I listen to a lot of cryptid accounts, and so a lot of like supernatural experiences. And a very common thing, and this has been reported on by government officials as well, is when when someone is experiencing something supernatural and it's evil, a lot of times they'll pray to Jesus Christ. They'll start saying the Lord's Prayer, sometimes verbally, sometimes just in their mind, they'll start praying to Jesus, and the encounter stops. It also stops with alien abductions. And so there is something to that. And I'm not a particularly religious person. I'm not terribly spiritual. I do believe in that. I'm just not well versed in that. But I do believe that there is a divine intervention that we have access to, and that it is stronger than the demonic forces by far. So I did want to share that.
Yeah. One thing I wanted to touch on regarding this comment as well is he's talking about the fragmenting of the individual and, like, I guess, bringing them back to deliverance or wholeness, within themselves and the Lord or divinity. And I just wanted to point out that this does remind me of psychological parts work, where the psyche is fragmented due to trauma, and then those fragments have to be reintegrated into an individual whole. And so I do recommend doing psychological parts therapy for that. It does help to integrate some of those dissociated parts back into your own personality.
Okay, I couldn't even follow that.
There's a
But
psychological therapy called parts work, and it is very successful for reintegrating the fragmented parts of the dissociated individuals that have the split personalities.
okay, like the healing process, like what the
Yeah,
survivors are going through to get
correct.
over it. Yeah. And my understanding is a lot of them either just don't survive very long, or the ones that survive, they tend to have a lot of emotional problems, substance abuse problems. So when they do come out, it's easy to discount them and discredit them because of their past history. And that's understandable that they would have, these types of problems because of what they went through. But I think there's been a lot of covering up and the discrediting. I think that's basically how it's been. They were just discredited and considered crazy all this time so that no one believes them. Jesus was soul centered. We're all fragmented into mind, body, and spirit. Yeah, I mean, I'm starting to learn this a little, but I'm starting to learn that, like, this part of your brain, I don't know if that's where the pineal gland is, but this is where your third eye is, which a lot of like Buddhism, a lot of ancient cultures consider this like the center of where your like sixth sense is. And like that is kind of where the development of that type of skill is. And a lot of people say that when we're born, we all have some degree of that ability to see energies, to read minds, to communicate telepathically. But because we're socialized to think that we can't do that, it just never develops. Say his name. Yeah, there's this one account of a boy who was on his bike and he was being chased by some kind of demonic entity, like a dog entity. And I think it was trying to kill him. And it got really close to him and he said, Jesus Christ. And then it backed off. He wasn't even praying. He was just saying it as a an expression, but somehow it worked. The growth of spirit is already within you. Jesus told us that. I very much believe it is true. Yeah, and I think just the teaching that we don't have a spirit is very debilitating to our ability to see beyond the physical. Okay, my brother and I would have nightly bouts with something, and it was always hard to physically get Jesus' name out. But once you did, the entity leaves. Yeah, I've heard that many times. And there is supposedly a book. Catherine Otson Fitz does mention the person who did this kind of research and found it. But that it's not just like here and there. There is research looking into how that is a thing. And it also kind of points to that the alien encounter phenomena is demonic. And I know when I spoke to L.A. Marzulli, he believes the grays are just the meat suit of the disembodied spirits of the Nephilim. So they're the physical body for the demonic spirit. Okay, and then this one is from Jane Hatch. She's another survivor, and she's going to talk about being a targeted person. And I'm starting to hear this a lot. Someone came up to me while we were doing our presentation in Santa Monica, and he was telling me like what he's experiencing and have I heard about it? And I said yes, and I do know people are being targeted by some sort of energy, and that there's very little. I didn't have anything to tell him. I said I really don't know like where you can go or what you can do. I just didn't know. But Jane is going to explain some of the things she does to protect herself.
I might have gone into a different phase. There's 5 phases of targeting. They might have moved me into another phase, but it did stop the worst. It's still coming up from the ground, and they will at junctures increase it. Like if they don't want me to leave New Mexico or they don't want me to do something, it'll increase. But on general everyday basis, I'm not getting hit as hard. I'm almost 70, and so I've been dealing with this for 40 years. And someone just asked, how do you protect from dew? I had lead shields that my daughters bought me, like a dentist lead shield that I would wear, as a vest, or sometimes I would put it over my head. You can also buy like copper. I have something right now that's like lined with silver, the metal silver, and I still wear that at night. I use organite for the attacks that are coming up from the ground. Something about an organite pyramid, I don't have it with me, seems to disperse it. I don't get that horrible feeling in my stomach. What else do I use? When I was getting hit really bad, I would take a lot of Epsom salt baths, anything. I have some really horrible image of like my breasts when I was able to get the radiation to come to the top using a Chinese form of, I forget what it's called. It's like cupping. You pull it to the top. So there's different ways to prevent it, and there's different ways to detox it. And I used all of the above and probably could put a list, but those were the major, is detoxing from the hits and trying to defend yourself. I mean, a lot of people think that's why they remove lead paint from the houses, is because if you were in a lead painted house, they couldn't get through it. If you can find an old house with the old lead paint, that will protect you. I know targeted individuals all over the world, and some places are better than others. Probably United States is the worst, but I know they get hit bad in Europe too. And wherever you go, it's a web. It's all interconnected, and they pass you on to their affiliates.
So Alexander Bradley is asking, did you feel it at all on the back of your head?
Oh yeah, they would hit me in the back of the head all the time. Yeah, it's like it'll feel like like a ping, but it's what you feel inside that is worse, because you start to feel dizzy and you can't think, and you get anxiety and confusion. The actual radiation hitting isn't the hard part. It's the results. Yeah, they like to hit you on the head. They want to immobilize you so you can't talk. And why they don't come right out and kill me? I'm probably owned by somebody. I don't know. Maybe I'm owned by the Navy and they can't kill. I don't know.
Yeah, so I played that because I thought it would be helpful if you are a targeted individual, because I've had people ask me this. And if you're in the chat, if you are or someone that is experiencing this, put it in the chat. I'm curious to see just how prevalent it is. But for me to have met a number of people, it has to be somewhat prevalent. But I thought that would be helpful if you know someone that is experiencing this. Those are some things you could do, because there's very little information available to help, because again, people that are claiming to be targeted are just discounted as crazy. There are people that can feel the electromagnetic forces, who can sense like Wi-Fi frequencies, and they're considered crazy. But these people have to really change their life. They can't live in the normal digital world that we have now because there's so much interference, so much frequencies that we're exposed to now. So I think going forward, it might be a bigger problem. So I wanted to share that in case, you know someone that's going through this, because I can imagine it being, very debilitating. I've never experienced like being hit with anything. The only thing and I'm looking back, there was a period not too long ago where I got like really fatigued and I had these recurring negative thoughts just like running through my mind, thoughts that I never had before. And there was no reason that I was having these really negative thoughts. And then it just one day it went away. But I don't know if that was something sent to me or it was something natural. But as far as my experience, that's the only thing I could think that could possibly have been some sort of like direct to skull communication. And they, the powers that be have publicly said they have this technology and they've had it for some time. In fact, McDonald's did an article saying how they were going to start using this as a way to advertise their products. So sending them, buy a Big Mac, something like that. Okay, and I'll address a couple comments. And do we have any questions, Shane?
Oh, let's see here. Well, here's one right here that I just caught.
Wi-Fi effects. I've heard there are people that can't tolerate being around Wi-Fi.
I'm not overly sensitive to electronics, but I do think I may actually have sensitivity to Wi-Fi effects that accumulate over time, like a chronic type thing. So I try to limit my use of wireless, especially earbuds.
Yeah, it's really hard to avoid it nowadays. Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, this is something I've been hearing. Fluoride calcifies the pineal gland, and that's why it's in everything. Yeah, I started cutting that out years ago, but because it's in the water and so many things, I think it is hard to completely avoid. Oh, anyone that got the jab has nanobots. Yeah, I mean, I got it, so I don't think you have to get that to have these types of particles in your system. There's other ways of being exposed to it. Lead paint was banned because of reasons that we were told that it's toxic. Yeah, I don't know I don't know a lot about that. If it was banned because it's toxic, or I'm not sure. DE
Well, it is.
helps. It's clear. Oh, sorry.
Lead paint is toxic to ingest, but you pretty much have to be eating the paint chips in order to get a toxic amount. So it could be that they want our homes to be electromagnetically transparent.
Yeah, I guess we would not know exactly, right? Exactly why that happened.
Yeah,
And that happened a long time ago, probably the early 80s.
Yeah, that sounds about right.
Even earlier, maybe. The Hawaiian people are spiritual people. Do you think that is why they got attacked? Like Lahaina attacked?
I think their spirituality may have been one of the factors in the equation, but there were so many. It's a very lucrative and strategic position. The smart city thing, the mineral resources, so many reasons.
Well, if they're talking about Lahaina, I'm from Hawaii, so you do get exposed to like the Hawaiian culture, but I wouldn't say that you're necessarily more spiritual than in any other state. I think a big reason is people are very compliant in Hawaii. I think they had one of the highest percentages of people that got the jab, and they tend to trust their government a lot, and they're very it's probably the bluest state in the country, and I think that's part of it. Oh, do I or Shane try grounding? Grounding meaning like being on the ground with your bare feet, or do they mean like those
I think it
copper?
can. I think it can include all of the above. So I think grounding also includes earthing, which would be going out barefoot in the ground. But there are also those special blankets and everything that you can plug into your grounding wire that allegedly will help ground you while you sleep. I've never
Yeah,
tried
there's
them.
something. Yeah, you could put like under your, like where I'm sitting, people put grounding mats that is
Mhm.
supposed to help, but I've never tried it.
I used to do
Have you ever-
grounding twice a day when I was actually, really into it. Twice a day, sun gazing and grounding, but like with my bare feet on the ground. But lately I do try to, at least once a week or once a month, go outside and touch grass because it is really good for you.
Do you feel like it makes a difference in your
It
the way you
does, and
feel?
sometimes it's the sunlight on my skin, but sometimes I do think it is the exchange of electrons between me and the earth.
Oh, I'm not going to verbalize this, but
Oh,
after the
yeah.
jab,
We're so sorry to hear that, Donna.
yeah, I mean, I live in an area where a lot of people, we got it, and it wasn't necessarily that we believed so much in it. A lot of it was our life would be just so difficult without it. There were just a lot of things you couldn't do. Places would like check your card, and a lot of people like lost their jobs. It really affected the education system here. If someone with the school didn't want to get it, it really messed things up. Okay. Oh, thank you for the super chat. Thanks, guys. Keep up the great work. Grounding to be one with nature. Yeah, I walked around a lot barefoot as a kid. It was kind of just how we did things. So lead paint makes kind of a Faraday cage. Yeah,
Yeah,
so I don't think you can buy lead paint, but you can buy copper paint. Is that right?
they do still have copper paint. I think it's mostly sold for boats for whatever reason. But yeah, you can buy the paint that's intended for boats that has the copper inside, and it should actually help to shield electromagnetics.
Okay, I think Shane, I lost you.
Oh,
Okay, I'll read a couple more. Spirituality involves connection to our ancestors and traditions that keep us in tune with the earth and less vulnerable to culture erasing currency cults. Yeah, I try with my kids. I try to remind them that they're Japanese, because I think for their case and that generation, I think a lot of them are going to forget their ancestry because they're different things, right? And I think maybe even in the next generation, they might not even know what their true ancestry is. And they probably won't know much about it. I really try to teach them things, but like even me and people my age, we didn't take on a lot of the traditions. We didn't learn a lot of the traditional Japanese like cooking or ways of doing things. I always say I'm going to learn, but I still haven't. Why did you take? Yeah, I didn't wake up till I didn't really like wake up really fast till 2023. So Maui was my waking up moment. I had been kind of starting to, but yeah, I woke up fairly recently. Okay, anything connects us to the earth is good for us. Natural living is key. Yeah, I mean, if only we had a natural life, right? I mean, I don't, but I grew up very much in nature, and I'm very grateful that I did. But I know I'm in such an urban area, it is difficult to really get out into nature. Okay. Oh, copper paint. Oh, this is good. Copper paint available at Walmart. Oh, okay.
Nice.
I did not know. I thought it would be hard to find. I do want to, because my house is due for repainting, and I am considering doing copper paint this time. And I do a lot of the painting myself. That's why it takes so long. Okay, start researching zeolite to remove the metals that may be introduced through that requirement.
Yeah, we actually have talked about zeolite briefly, privately. I used to work for a swimming pool supply company, and we sold a lot of zeolite, which is a type of clay. It's very absorbent. It was used as a filter substrate in pools, but it is edible, and it actually is very adsorbent. It can absorb a lot of material, just kind of like activated charcoal. And so I do highly recommend zeolite as well as diatomaceous earth for like parasites and stuff.
It's like a supplement or a medication.
It's like a powdered clay, and it's at the microscopic level, it's very porous, and it can actually absorb a lot of material like a sponge.
I think I saw it on Redacted. Someone came on and they were a representative for it. I think I asked you about it, and you told me
Yeah.
that it's a type
Yeah,
of clay.
zeolite's good stuff. I highly recommend it.
Yeah, and I was planning to get it. I would have to look up that video. This was at least a few months ago, but Redacted had someone that knew about this, and then I think he was a representative or had a company that made this product, and it was very inexpensive. So, you can get that at pet stores too. They use it for filters for fish tanks. Oh. These are for filters. But you have to eat it. Are you eating it? I guess you're drinking it.
You
or
eat
eating
it. You can eat, well, you put it in water, you drink it actually. You can add it to food. There was like these bulk grain bins where I worked at a food co-op, and they would actually add it to the bulk bins to keep bugs out and stuff. So yeah, diatomaceous earth. So yeah, you can eat diatomaceous earth or zeolite clay, and usually do it in a powdered form. You could either add it to the food or just drink it in water. I never actually added it to food. I always just drank it in water.
Okay. Well, maybe I'll try it out and let you guys know how it goes. There's so many things. And I'll let you guys know, for those that were asking about my AquaCure journey. I'm still using it. Something I learned is, if I don't, so I was kind of bad for a couple of days, and I didn't inhale a lot of the gas. If you don't know what I'm talking about, there's a device I've been using to kind of help some health conditions. And something that it helps is when I'm recovering from a workout or exercise, if I don't inhale, I do get sore the next day. And if I do a lot of the inhaling, I get almost no pain, no muscle soreness. I kind of use that to test it out. And it was the change was dramatic. Maybe, you know what, Shane, we'll do an update soon, because I know a bunch of people got it, and we're
And
asking
speaking of
questions.
grounding, I think, works by supplying electrons. So like the earth is very electron rich, and by making direct contact with the earth, you can actually replenish lost electrons. And the AquaCure is another kind of indirect and artificial way of grounding, in my opinion, where you can actually supplement, electrons basically. And so it's kind of an indirect way of grounding itself.
Right. It's technically electrolyzed water, right? The water
Yes.
itself.
Yes.
Yeah. Now my daughter only drinks this water, and if she drinks like another water from for out, she can tell she'll say it tastes horrible. So Some people
Yeah.
are more sensitive to it. I can't tell that much, but some people can. Oh, wait, so let me see this. There are zeolite drops for children that are loaded with vitamins and minerals. I've been taking daily for about 6 months. That and being barefoot all day long. Interesting. Yeah, my kids are almost never barefoot outside, like never. If you're in a area where like you're in a lot of concrete, yeah, it's not very often, but I'm going to try. I always say I'm going to try to get them to do it because we do have a lot of grass outside. Okay. All right. I'm going to end it here. So, yeah, if you haven't subscribed, please do so before you leave. YouTube has made it very difficult for my subscriber count to go up. And a like, comment, share this video. And we also have a membership program. So by being a member, your comments will get priority. And the second level will give you access to a Telegram chat that Shane and I participate in. And when I get to 100 members, which I think we're maybe need another 20 or so, we'll start making member-only content at that point. So, oh, and thank you, Donna. Donna's one of our newest members. And yeah, Donna, you're in the Telegram chat, but I don't think you've said anything. Or someone joined and then didn't say anything. But anyways, don't be shy if you get the link for the Telegram chat group. Okay, so with that, oh, you know what? One last thing. Did I play Dr. Jang?
I don't remember. I was more engaged with the chat.
I don't think I did. I'm going to end with this clip. I think it is very pertinent to understanding what's going on today.
Okay, now, capitalism is a problem because it changed the fundamental nature of your brain, okay? So this is a article from the Atlantic Monthly, which is a very popular magazine in the United States. There are these neuroscientists who have done brain scans, and they discovered that power causes brain damage, okay? In fact, if you look at the brain of a psychopath and the brain of a wealthy person, it's pretty similar, okay? Yeah, they did brain scans, and it looks as though people who have too much money has brain damage. Why? Because a normal person is able to have empathy, is able to understand the feelings of others. Guess what? If you're too powerful, if you're too wealthy, you don't have the capacity to have empathy. You can't appreciate the feelings of others. So think of like Elon Musk or Mark Zuckerberg. They have absolutely no concept of empathy, okay?
Okay, and with that, we're going to say goodbye.
They piece it together. They ask why every hidden